I was thinking about what's the group of people who have not already been repulsed by something Trump did, and then now is the final straw after all this time that he was convicted of in some kangaroo court. Like, I don't really think they're out there, and that's where I am a bit optimistic. But I think it's important to emphasize to this group after watching so much bravado and confidence online last night after in reaction to the verdict. I think it's very important to not take anything for granted. Yes, I think it helps Trump politically in November, but the stakes are so high. And because we have not experienced what the left is anticipating, which is 5 straight months of convicted felon set on repeat, we don't know if it's going to work. But your question is a good one, which is, who's it going to work on? I don't know who that person is, but the left certainly thinks those people are out there.
Okay, so that's clearly the play from the left is, and it's not only Donald Trump convicted felon, you kicked it up a notch, which makes it way more powerful than that guy's a convicted felon. It's you, America, can do better than a convicted felon. That's the right hit. So then what would you recommend Trump's jiu-jitsu move against that is? What's the judo move to spin that in as a positive? When the mugshot came out of Georgia, it was like obvious, like he sold 1 billion T-shirts and like that was awesome for him. How can you do the same thing with being called a convicted felon? Yeah,
I think that if he emphasizes a couple of crucial points, that the people decide, which he did yesterday, I think is a very important point, that the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. I think that's a very good point for him to say. I like that a lot. I also like what he did, not emphatically, but he did it sort of offhandedly, is suggesting that this is all from Joe Biden. And when they say I'm a convicted felon, they convicted me. My opponents convicted me. A judge whose wife is a Democrat, a jury of left wingers in a rigged trial, and all of it could have been stopped by a judicial system that is controlled by the guy I'm debating right now. I'm going up against the election, all that stuff. So, and I think that if he phrases it in a way that, yes, I'm convicted by my opponents, like they do in banana republics, I think if people are paying attention and listening, I think that they'll be amenable to that analysis.
Okay, that's really good. Really good. Can you, or what insight do you have? Can you speak to Trump's resoluteness? We were talking to the Gorka man yesterday, and he went to the Trump trial, like I think last Thursday or something. And I said, what'd you do after the trial? He's like, I took the train home, and I was exhausted. Gorka's a big, strong guy, and I was so tired after one day in court. I can't imagine what 78-year-old Donald Trump, they're trying to break him. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, they're trying to break this person.
Yes.
And they haven't yet, but everyone's got an end, right? You can't go, right? What's the end for him? How is he staying strong?
Yeah, I think that's that is truly the thing about Trump that I like the most, and I like so much about him, and not say I like everything about him, but it's the fact that he does seem so Teflon. It just seems like he resists anything, nothing sticks to him. He seems to never get in his own head ever. And you would think that the left would give up on the strategy of trying to intimidate him, try to get in his head, because that really is how Trump has always he's just always thrived in that environment where they're trying to go after him, they're trying to go after his family. He always deals with it, moves on. But he is a human being. I mean, we know that from, remember when he had COVID and he was coming off the helicopter and he was walking across the White House lawn and he was kind of slumped over. And it's so he's got it. Like, he is a human being in there somewhere, but he's so resilient that it really is my favorite characteristic of all of them. It is the one that's, of all of his skills, that was the most aspirational for me. If I could live my life with that way, it'd just be much easier if I had that gear that Trump is always in. So I don't know if this affects him, but I'll tell you, if you watch that rally in the Bronx, it certainly didn't look like it's affected him yet. It looks like he's in good shape.
It's funny you bring up that COVID moment, because I distinctly remember being on the radio and wait, the helicopter's out front and what is he going to do? Is he going to come out on a stretcher? Are they going to wheel him out? Is he going to be wearing his pajamas when he comes out because he's so sick? What is he? And he came out with a suit and tie, and sure, maybe was slouched a little bit, but came out looking still, dressed presidentially and strong on his way to the hospital. I've never worn a suit and tie to the hospital before. So I even find that to be a moment of strength. And the other one that we brought up earlier was Brett Kavanaugh. And listen, you have way more political experience than I do with this stuff. But to me, that was the highest temperature. That was the hottest I've ever felt the fury in D.C. was during the Kavanaugh hearings.
Sure.
And Kavanaugh was going to quit. And he met with Trump, and Trump said, no, you push back, you fight back, you punch back. And then Kavanaugh gave that speech, and now he's on the Supreme Court. Is there another moment like that stands out to you for him? Because this is going to be another one. This will be his biggest.
Man,
standing up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know I'll come up with something once we're off the air. But it's the Kavanaugh one is such a great call. I mean, having lived through that and having been talking to every single insider I could talk to during that time, it really was that was very. Any Republican would have. Yeah, it was a real high wire act. The one reason why I will always remained optimistic is because it was so clearly everything that was said about Kavanaugh was a lie. There wasn't a shred of evidence to any of it. I mean, it's like some of the Trump stuff that was discussed during the trial did happen. I mean, it's not like this fake hoax N-word tape that we were talking about yesterday in the morning, which is it doesn't exist. It's not out there, and everyone's acting like there's evidence that it's there. There's no evidence of it at all. It's completely fabricated. The Kavanaugh stuff was like that. It was just completely made up. So I was hopeful he would stand his ground just for his own name. That you don't let people lie about you in general. I mean, sometimes people can overreact to something you've done and you lose your job or whatever. But some of the stuff in Trump's trial, it happened. It just wasn't illegal. They were making things like you're allowed to pay someone to be quiet about an affair if that is going to help your life. Like, you're allowed to do that. It's not illegal in any way. And they made it seem like it was some sort of campaign violation, as if you're obliged to allow some a one night stand you had with some tawdry woman a decade before you run for office. Like, if that's going to determine whether or not you can run for office, it's just so absurd that would be considered illegal. And the judge framed it as basically that's illegal, and that's why we're here. So I don't have a great answer for you, but I think Kavanaugh was a great poll and also a hopeful one.
Someone wrote me a note that they said they are discouraged because this hurts the chances that good people would ever run for office again. And maybe that's been the case for a long time.
I think so. Yeah. I think that was a joke that one of my neighbors texted me after the verdict and asked if I would run for office, and I turned to my wife and joked, and I said, "Well, you're not going to let me do that, are you?" And then she said, "No, I'm not." And it is a joke, and I'm not saying that when I'm Trump's age I wouldn't run for office, but certainly right now, it's just the idea of being a career politician seems even less appealing than it did 4 years ago and 8 years ago. It's so. It is just so game on now that they just try to throw you in jail because they don't like your politics. And that to me is very bad for society, as we've discussed on the show in the past.
Yeah, they'll find some business ledger that from outside of the statute of limitations ago to catch you and throw you in prison. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll put him in prison?
No, I don't think so. But it seems like it's a single point of failure. I got to get coached up on this from our abogados at the Breitbart ecosystem that we have. We have many of them, so they'll have to help me get to the bottom of that. But it really does seem like if the judge wants to do it, they'll do it. And then
for everyone's sake who doesn't live in California or around a highly Hispanic population, that would be Spanish for lawyers.
That's right. Yes, or attorneys if you would prefer. Yeah. So it's the, and we have many abogados at Breitbart. So they're gonna have to help me with this, but it feels like because he's a first-time offender, it would be atypical for something like this. That, remember, it's a fake felony. It's not even a real felony. It would have been a misdemeanor, but it was the statute of limitation. The misdemeanor ran out. I mean, you can't help but smile a little bit at this, Mike, because it's so ridiculous. These were misdemeanors that are only considered felonies now because that was their only choice if they wanted to prosecute Trump on this because of statute of limitations, and then they convicted him of the felonies. It's just such kangaroo court, banana republic stuff. But because of that, I think that probably he won't send him to jail, but you never know. This guy is a complete freak. We are dealing with a individual who is completely nuts, and people who've listened to this show long enough know I don't come in and say that often. Normally I think these people on the left are just calculated and ruthless. I think this guy's insane, Merchan. And so I do not assume he won't try whatever he wants to do. Whatever he thinks is going to help Biden win. If he thinks that's putting Trump in jail, then he might do it.
This ties into that N-word, that fake N-word controversy. Real quick on that one. So a producer from season 1 and season 2 of The Apprentice, his statute of limitations ended, and he came out and said that Trump he said the N-word about one of the contestants. And then in this Vanity Fair article, on paragraph 75, I counted them, on paragraph 75 of 87, so right near the very end, he said, there's no tapes of it.
Yeah. Right. There's no evidence. And they brought this out 6 years ago, so they acted like this was fresh because some NDA ended, but there's no evidence. So you can't just do that in America, especially when the whole goal is convict someone in the court of public opinion and you've no evidence. You've one guy's hearsay. It just like they keep trying to tell us Trump's a racist. They've been doing this forever. There's just never been any evidence at all that he's racist in the slightest. And you see the way minorities respond to him relative to other Republicans, and it's just that's why they're doing it. But it's just I can't believe they went back to this well. Again, with nothing. They have nothing, and they just are trying to overwhelm the zone. I do have my answer for you, of course, and it's so obvious I should have thought of this, Mike. It's January the 6th. That's what they're trying to do. They want another January the 6th. And here's another reason why my point about we're in uncharted territory and can't be overly cocky here. They would love one tiny incident of violence to take place.
Yes.
They would like for one of us to overreact. One of our crazy uncles or crazy aunties to do something stupid, and then they could frame it as we're all a violent movement and we're all trying to overthrow the government. And there's a lot of people last night who you can believe when this jury came down were thinking some very negative thoughts they hadn't thought in the past, and they're hoping one person slips up and does something crazy, and then they can have their J6 moment. And I think that this was a trap that was set also. So everyone keep that in mind when you got any federal government officials who are pretending to be someone they're not in your social media feeds. Be very careful who you're responding to right now.